I believe it almost goes without saying that before we get into this week's wrap-up, we should take a moment to pay our silent respects to Steve Jobs. Although he has passed away, his vision lives on as we continue to enjoy games on our iPods, iPhones, and iPads. I doubt many people would have thought they'd be playing games like Infinity Blade, Chaos Rings, Real Racing, or a host of other amazing titles on such a device half a decade ago, but here we are. For my personal feelings on the recent death of Steve Jobs, feel free to follow the link in the description below. It has also been an exciting week as details of the upcoming iPhone 4S were finally released, and the response has been overwhelmingly polarized, with some, such as myself, drooling over the idea of having all that processing power harnessed for games, while others consider it a waste of time, along with a few other choice words. In an attempt to be impartial, I'll simply say that history is repeating itself, and we've seen the significance of the S series already. Those who had the misfortune of sticking with an iPhone 3 for any length of time after the 3GS was released will know how quickly the industry embraced the increased performance, leaving them behind in the dust. For more details about the upcoming iDevice and a few more tidbits, check out Richard's live blog of the event via the links below. For now, let's move on to the Friday news wrap-up for October the 7th, 2011. While I've never regretted paying full price for any of Cairosofts' games, some like to sit on their hands and wait until things reach a price range acceptable to them. So, while I usually hesitate to point out discounts this late in the week, if you've been itching to try out either Grand Prix Story or Pocket Academy, you can pick them up for half price right now. That's only $1.99 for those in the US. Not bad for these addictive management sim titles. As if the recent release of horror action slasher Dark Meadow wasn't enough, we now have Infinity Blade 2 to look forward to, as details of the game and its release were announced this week. While there's no prizes for guessing which 3D engine it's using, other small tweaks include the use of iCloud to transfer saves and profiles between multiple devices. Aside from the usual set of enemies, you'll also get to slash down a bunch of new bosses as well. Lastly, players will also be able to unlock special items and weapons by cooperating with players online in a special Clash Mob mode. Those who already own Infinity Blade should update to enjoy a handful of new items and a new enemy to slash down. No pricing is available, but you can expect to have the game in your hands on December 1st. In the first of what I imagine to be a series of games updating to take advantage of the iPhone 4S and iPad 2's improved processing power, Firemans Real Racing 2 will be updating soon to add some seriously sexy features. Of course, the first major improvement comes in the form of visual tweaks, adding even more depth and detail to the game world. Also, a new party mode will be available, allowing 2 to 4 players to compete against each other in 720p over AirPlay. Thankfully, only the host needs to have a 4S or iPad 2, so don't feel as though you've been shortchanged just yet. And hopefully your rich friend will have everything else you need too. Every now and then we get a title like this on the App Store, a miniature pastiche drawing ideas from various sources in order to tempt players to taste its wares. Aside from the obvious visual inspirations ranging from Mario Brothers to Bomberman, the gameplay is immediately reminiscent of the line defense style from Plants vs. Zombies. Enemies attacked from land, sea, or air, and each of the many unlockable defensive robots has a specific form of attack designed to counter their attackers. Over the course of the game, you'll explore various environments, each with their own tricks and traps to overcome. Though veterans of the style of gameplay won't find too much challenge, especially as upgrades add to your ability to either set up quickly or otherwise survive a slip-through or two. If nothing else, if you're after a line defense game with a cute edge, you'll get a decent bang for your buck with tiny defense. Otherwise, there's nothing lost in letting this rehash slide on by. Expectations ran high before the release of the horror action title Dark Meadow, but much like with the iPhone 4S, we as gamers and tech geeks should always keep in mind that expectations are often personal wishes, and are unfair to judge a product by. Although falling short of true excellence, Dark Meadow is still nonetheless a thoroughly addictive action-adventure RPG, focused more on its revealing story and exploration-based features. Random encounters with the nightmarish creatures that dwell in the horrific darkened corridors of the abandoned hospital range from tense and exciting to mere annoyances. But battling the witch herself is a real test of skill as you master her various movements to avoid another trip to the first room. If you can't get enough of Infinity Blade, or you're a fan of horror-themed titles in general, give Dark Meadow a chance. And that's this week's wrap-up. We've got more in store for you after the weekend, especially once Dave manages to kick in the reviews left on his list. So beware the landslide of reviews to make up for this week's slimmer pickings. As always, if you haven't already, feel free to subscribe and get notified as soon as new content goes live, or follow us via Twitter and Facebook to keep in touch directly. Until next week, have fun. This has been Andrew with AppSpy.com.
We review, you decide.